Hello YouTube, shintigercurl here, that dude in the straw hat, bringing you yet another awesome video. Now, if you couldn't tell by the title or the thumbnail, this will be a movie. This will be a video about the Fantastic Four. Now, I haven't seen the movie, thank God. So this is not so much as a review, more as just a thought piece about really just stuff in general. So I'm going to get to this beforehand, but I'm going to read the article reviewing this movie. It can be found on the CVR Comic Resources forum that I'm a part of. So here it is. Quote, the review. Fantastic Four is super, only in its mediocrity. The bad buzz around 20th Century Fox's Fantastic Four reboot has been brewing for months. Red flags, including rumors of reshoots, negative fan reaction to what appear to be significant deviations from the source material, and director Josh Trank's abrupt departure for his inevitable Star Wars gig. Of course, reshoots don't always spell doom. Consider World War Z. And Trank says that he chose to walk away from Star Wars to avoid being obligated to a second franchise. So perhaps these new items have no bearing on the finished product of the Fantastic Four. Regardless, it's shocking to see a superhero movie be this boring. An origin story, Fantastic Four centers around Reed Richards, played by Miles Teller, a brilliant teen who dreams of building a teleporter. With the help of his best friend Ben Grimm, played by Jamie Bell, he constructs a small prototype for his high school science fair, where it's discovered by supportive scientist Dr. Franklin Storm, played by Reggie Carthy. You might remember him as Dirty D from Pootie Tang. Yeah, I remember that. From there, Reed is invited to a top-secret project attempting to accomplish interdimensional travel, working with siblings Sue and Johnny Storm, played respectively by Kate Mara and Michael B. Jordan, and the ominously named Victor Von Doom, played by Topher Cabell. Reed wants to change the world, but a disastrous accident changes this fivesome, fating them for a showdown in the film's finale. You'd think a film about the Fantastic Four's discovery of their powers might want to focus on them exploring these abilities. Fantastic Four, however, takes another approach, resulting in a film top-heavy with movie science about that teleporter and extraneous setup scenes. We begin a long, dull sequence set in 2007 with Little Reed making friends with Little Ben while trying to rob his parents' junkyard for parts. Then there's that whole scene with the science fair rigmarole. Then comes a sequence where Ben helps his buddy move into the Baxter Institute. Then Dr. Storm must convince a jaded Victor to join the team. Then we introduce Johnny as a mechanic who loves to race POS cars. He goes on and on, trying to end the audience's patience with irrelevant information before bumbling into an accident origin that makes no sense. Infuriated by the bigwigs of the Baxter Institute that have decided that NASA should send in trained personnel to travel to another dimension in their teleporter, a drunken Victor, Reed, and Johnny throw caution to the wind and do it themselves. After all, they earned it since they built this machine together. Also, Ben along because friends forever. But in this other dimension, things go to hell fast. They lose Victor, rocks tumble on Ben's capsule, Johnny catches fire, check, check. Sue, who rushes into the lab and saves and becomes invisible, I guess because she was essentially invisible to them when they decided all the inventors should go and yet forget her. And Reed becomes stretchy because why? The script is filled with tendrils of ideas left dangling and unable to come together in any semblance of making sense. The worst is the dialogue, awfully constructed with bland, ununitarian talk like, we open the door, we have to shut it. You know it's a bad sign when the line that got the biggest audience reaction is a ripoff from another movie. There is no Victor, there is only Doom. You think that all the time spent establishing backstory would flesh out the characters in a way that would make them compelling. No, instead, the film gives you bits of trivia in lieu of personality. Sue likes to listen to Portishead. Johnny likes cars. Ben is poor. And Reed is apparently a smug jerk. Not that the film illustrates that point with scenes and his actions. But hey, other characters say it, so go with it. There's a lot of blame to go around about how insanely lame this movie is, but I'm blaming Trank for the fact that his vision is a gritty reboot, is apparently caking the whole film in gray, directing his actors to speak in monotone. Maybe it's meant to make them all sound serious and dramatic, but it just seemed boring. And if they don't care about what's happening in the movie, why should we? It's actually astounding how Trank's directions bled all the charm out of Mira, Teller, and Bell. Jordan, to his credit, manages to throw a little flair and entertaining arrogance into his Human Torch, but be warned, some of one-liners that he dishes out in the trailers have been left out on the cutting room floor. Ultimately, the film's greatest sin is a lack of action. I got home, I rewatched the trailer, confounded that there's so much of what I saw in Fantastic Four took place in a lab and not in combat. The ads are crafty, cutting in a montage scene of Ben, secret military weapon, and the Storm siblings training in order to make it appear as though the Fantastic Four actually get to be heroes before the last sequence of the film, but they don't. They train, they bicker, the stakes of which are lost because of the faulty character development, and by the time Victor reappears as Doctor Doom, the movie's almost over. It's so galling that I didn't even pay to see it. I felt like I'm owed money back. Please, let this film be the death knell of the gritty reboot. Trank and his cast have drained the life and fun out of this property to create a joyless slog through moody tedium, which is further jarring by not only that none of these actors can pass for 18. Within this grim perspective, the powers of the Fantastic Four transform into body horror. Despite being PG-13 rating, there are some disturbing amounts of bloodshed and gore and sensitivity to kids having nightmares about the Human Torch's hellish introduction, or Ben's screams of pain, or Reed's horrifically distorted limbs. Ultimately, Fantastic Four is a profound mess. Not fun, it's not exciting, it's far from action-packed, and it's most certainly not fantastic. And yes, that was the written review for the Fantastic Four movie. Now, I'm not too surprised by this reaction because, okay, I'm not gonna sit here and try to whitewash things. I have no problem with Michael Jordan, I'm sorry, portraying the Human Torch. I mean, characters can swap races once in a while, and it actually can work. I cite the Daredevil, well, the Ben Affleck Daredevil anyway. The late great Michael Clark Duncan did a magnificent job at portraying the Kingpin. His size, his intimidation, his power, his overall persona of being untouchable. That was one of my favorite incarnations of the Kingpin up until the Netflix Daredevil series. That was a good Kingpin too. And also Heimdall from the Thor movies, played by Idris Elba. He did a good job with that, even though Heimdall was portrayed to be white. I have no problem with certain casting decisions. The problem with this movie, it seems, is that they fucked over the source material. And this is an underlying question with comic book movies in general. How far do you need to go? You see, directors have to stride that line where, on one hand, you have to stay true to the source material, but on the other hand, you have to make it broad enough that anyone could watch it who is not a comic book fan and enjoy it. A lot of movies got it right, a lot of them got it wrong. Now, I think the problem with this is, I think they really don't seem to want to nail what makes the Fantastic Four awesome. I mean, look at Captain America: The Winter Soldier. They made Captain America a badass soldier, but he had great morals and ideals. He represented the dream of America, not America the government or America the country. He represents the dream of America. And also the Wolverine. That's probably the best movie that Wolverine has been in outside of the reboot movies. And that just showed that Wolverine is this old, aging, immortal warrior, and he's just so tired and slogged through everything, but he still does what he must because that's the kind of guy he is. The Fantastic Four is about four people who push the envelope of what you can learn and paid the price by getting superpowers. And it doesn't also help that they're a family. That's why they're called the first family of superheroes. They live together. They're a family. Hell, Reed and Sue's son Franklin, named after the storm, like after Franklin's storm, is Ben Grimm's godson. They're as close knit as a family can get in the Marvel universe, and unfortunately, they just don't seem to get it. And what's even worse is Doom. From what I've read about Doom in some reviews and what Jeremy Jahns said in his review, they got Doom wrong. Doom should not be this hard to get right on film. Doom is an egomaniac. He is a genius. He's a master of both technology and sorcery. Whatever he sets his mind to accomplish, he does it. He doesn't have any superpowers or anything like that. He just relies on his technology, his brain, and his indomitable willpower. In this one, they just seem to make him some psychic, crazy dude who just walks around killing people. It betrays what Doom is all about. That's what made Doom a cool villain, because he was just so intelligent. He couldn't. I mean, without his armor, he couldn't really do much. Well, he did kill a lion with his bare hands when he was just butt-ass naked in the middle of an alien dimension, but that's just how awesome Doom is. But yeah, Doom is one of the most iconic villains in comic books, and yet they can't seem to get him right. It is an amazing thing that the last three Fantastic Four movies before this one actually had a more accurate portrayal of Victor Von Doom. The last two, we had Gillian McMahon play Doctor Doom as this arrogant genius, multi-billionaire who goes insane because of his looks. I can kind of understand that. The Roger Corman movie, which was a movie that's so bad that the actors and production crew sued to have it not released, actually got him right as being a brilliant scientist at an accident, and he eventually becomes ruler of his own country, Latveria. And yet they can't seem to get this right. This is a bad sign when the first Fantastic Four movie is actually a more fitting adaptation than this one. That movie was made almost 20 some odd years ago. This was made in the last 2 years, and it came out this year. That is sad to think about. But yeah, what does it take to do now? Hopefully this movie bombs. I don't like to say that, but hopefully this movie bombs, because the studios and any potential directors or screenwriters need to understand that you need to respect your source material, or the fans are going to revolt. You need to don't try to do a grim and gritty reboot on something that doesn't need a grim and gritty reboot. Batman works as a grim and gritty reboot because he is typically a grim character. The dude lost his parents when he was 8 years old, shot to death in front of him. Now, a lot of people say, oh, but Man of Steel is grim and gritty. I wouldn't say grim and gritty for Man of Steel. It's more thought-provoking, because Man of Steel observes the more human aspects of Superman, making him wondering what shouldn't he do? What would be the limits of what he could do? What should he do? That's just how I take it. Those kind of movies work. Not for the Fantastic Four. It's about 4 people given fantastic powers and use those powers to explore and adventure across the universe, as well as battle fight the good fight against a various amount of enemies. The Fantastic Four has a large rogues gallery that they rarely tapped into with these movies. Outside of Doctor Doom, you also have the Psycho Man from the Microverse, the Frightful Four being the Wizard, Hydro Man, Lady Medusa, and the Trapster. You also had Galactus, Terrax the Tamer. Who else? The Mole Man, the Puppet Master. Who else? there's so much to work with, but they've only scratched the surface. And they're only focusing on Doom because he's the most recognizable of all the Fantastic Four's enemies. He's their arch nemesis, and yet they just can't seem to get him right. Why is this so hard? Hopefully, Marvel finally gets the rights back for the Fantastic Four from Fox, because Fox is fucking up. Fucking up. They got Spider-Man back. Hopefully they can get the Fantastic Four back. Deadpool, they got him right, as you saw in my Deadpool trailer review. X-Men, they were a little shaky behind at first after X-Men The Last Stand and X-Men Origins Wolverine, but they rebounced back with the Wolverine, First Class, and Days of Future Past. They're getting them back mostly because of Bryan Singer. But yeah, those properties are okay. But Fantastic Four needs to go back to Marvel. Marvel Studios has been hitting it out of the park lately with a lot of their movies, so they need to get the first family back to where they belong. But yeah, that's what needs to happen. So, honestly, don't see this movie. Even I have not seen this movie, and I haven't seen any reviews, but I knew this movie was going to suck. But also, I need to bring up The Thing. From what I've read, The Thing is some government agent who kills people. And it doesn't seem to be... Alright. Say what you want about the last two Fantastic Four movies, but I still will say this. Michael Chiklis was born to play Ben Grimm because he embodied the character. This everyday working class Joe who got turned into this big rocky monster, and you could see the struggles that he was going through, because Michael Chiklis said that having on that suit, that Thing suit for so long, he could understand what the character was going through, because it was so hard just to walk around and do normal shit with that suit on, and that kind of added to the character and made it more interesting. And there was a nice little scene in the first Fantastic Four movie where Ben is trying to eat cereal and he bites the spoon clean off, and he had this look of exasperation, like ah, and he just keeps trucking on through. I don't see any of that from this new thing. And if he would never join the government. I mean, during when the Civil War broke out and people were choosing sides, Ben Grimm chose no side, because he's like, I don't support this stuff, but I don't want to go against nobody, so I'm not picking sides. I'm staying out of it, which was kind of fine for his character, because that's just not the kind of guy he was. Honestly, Marvel, if you get this, if you make a if you get the rights back to the Fantastic Four and do another movie, get Michael Chiklis back. He's the only man I can see playing the role of Ben Grimm. He's the only Ben Grimm I recognize. The same way that Thomas Jane is the only Punisher that I recognize. Do something about this. So yeah, that's my thoughts on, well, Fantastic Four and why it sucks. If you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe below. Got any questions, comments? If you saw the movie, what did you think about it? And let me know at the bottom, and I'll get back to you. If you want to support the channel, click the like button, or click on an advertisement around this video, or you know what to do. So, until next time, it's been shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, saying good day. God damn it, why can't you get them right?